Hamburger. All right. Wait, hold on. We got to make sure that we got everybody in the same picture at the same time. Just a second, guys. We got to get y'all. Boom. There we go. Everybody's good. Now we got you picture. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. We had a massive delay today because TikTok liked to give us an update, and I didn't want TikTok to miss out on the show today. So instead of me just rushing right in and running the show, I said, let's go ahead and wait till the update happens and then run the show. So now that TikTok's in the mix, we've got TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. So I greatly appreciate everybody waiting on us. For those of you that hung around, the rest of you that missed us, you're going to catch us once you realize that the show aired anyway. I told y'all every day of the week, I told y'all yesterday that once you set up a routine, even if you're late with it, that you don't feel comfortable with not doing it. So even if you do it late, you're going to get it done because you don't feel right without it. I've been airing this podcast every day of the week for almost the last year. There makes no sense for me not to air this podcast. I would have to be physically incapable of getting up here or under the situation where I have literally no more internet service left and I can't stream it from my cell phone. That would probably be the only way that I wouldn't air the show that day. But, even if it's minimalistic internet service, I'm going to stream the most chopped up raw footage that you could potentially get and still air this podcast. So I really appreciate you guys showing us that support and getting in here. I really appreciate it. It definitely gives us the ability to keep things going. Now, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, join the membership. For you guys that are on TikTok, over here in the bottom right-hand corner, y'all see a link to the YouTube page. I want y'all to grab that link and utilize that link to subscribe to the YouTube platform where you're able to get more information about the podcast. You guys have the ability to click the request to invite to get involved into the show live and in person. I do believe I can have up to 2 of y'all in here at the same time. So the first person to request to get thrown in gets thrown in. I prefer that you guys be over the age of 18 on the podcast because apparently TikTok has the same scenario as YouTube with community guidelines that you got to be over the age of 18 on the podcast. So if I observe that you are not over the age of 18 on a podcast, I will remove you off of the live feed. But if you're in the live feed and you are over the age of 18, your thought process is wanted, needed, and encouraged. Those of you that are on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, because YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch are on the second window over here on the left side. You guys, I'm giving y'all a link to the podcast here. So y'all will be able to click that link from stream. You'll be able to approve the mic, approve the camera, and then it'll bring you into the live in real time. So I am still struggling with that internet, guys. I told y'all that the internet thing was going to be a problem for the short term because we have not gotten a replacement modem yet, the gateway that we were supposed to be getting. But while we're still working on getting that gateway, I'm going to do the best I can to stream y'all to the best of my ability. So hang tight with that. Probably tomorrow, I believe that I should see at least one of them because I know that snail mail, they're supposed to be sending them here. One was sent last week, I think Friday evening after business hours, which should have got shipped out on Monday. And typically, even if they do overnight, it should take 3 business days. So if they shipped it out on Monday, it should get here by Friday. And the one that was done, I think either Monday or Tuesday night, that one next day delivery should be 48 hours, 2 business days, which would start the next day, which would have been like Wednesday morning. So 2 days from Wednesday with 2 business days, which would be like Friday evening. So one of the 2 gateways should show up tomorrow afternoon. But until then, we've got our spotty service. Anywho, today we're talking about how your inner circle can drive you further in life. Either it can make you successful or it could contribute to your failure. First person accountability, you are responsible for the decisions that you make and the company that you keep. So while we're talking about today's show, anybody who got some comments, some insightful words, or if you just have some personal experiences where some of your homeboys held you back or made some bad decisions that fucked up your position, and then you didn't accomplish the things that you wanted to accomplish, today's the day to throw it up there onto the show. So everybody's encouraged to jump in and throw their opinions around. This is an open forum, open-minded podcast. So nobody's opinion is wrong. We can debate the issues and try to make it make sense, because that is what I like to do on a daily basis, is come to the podcast and try to make it make sense when it doesn't make sense. Speaking of, before I start talking about the importance of having a network that favors your agenda, I just want to touch base because there are some fans that I've been talking to in the comments over the past couple of days, off of our last show in August with Mr. Pibbs, when they were commenting on morality. And I want to talk about that real quick, briefly. It's not going to take up very long in the show. I want to talk about this morality situation because one of the fans came up and was trying to philosophize in the worst way with a like-minded individual, me. And like-minded means we kind of both had the same observations, so there wasn't much to debate there. But because he was trying to keep a debate going, the guy started trying to make it seem like there was a way to win the argument. Like there was an argument to win, first of all, but the fact that there was a way that he could win the argument by getting me to not have a response, or by formulating a way to get me to just not want to entertain the conversation any further, because he was not trying to make sense. So I gave him a challenge to come to the podcast, even tonight, even though we started 40 minutes late. So if he decided to look at the podcast and the podcast hadn't aired yet, he might say, well, you didn't show up. No, I did. And I'm actually talking about the topic. So just want you to know, hey, buddy, you could dive in at any point today. If I see you in the green room on StreamYard, or if I see your invite to jump in from TikTok, I will put you up on the show and we can talk about it real time, or you and I can debate about it in the comment section. And if you're talking to me from Twitch or YouTube, I will be able to put your comments up on the screen so that everybody else can see them. On TikTok, even if you're not attached to the other one. So everybody gets to see everybody when you're talking to me on this podcast. So be careful what you say. Likewise, I just want to make sure that you know that we are going to be talking about the building up a better network. Just a second. So quickly, the morality concept started with I was trying to find out, when me and Mr. Pibbs did a show about how to define morality and ethics, and what is the definition of good and bad. And it's a very interesting concept to have. It's a boring concept to have until the interesting part occurs. And when the interesting part occurs is when the idea that good and bad could be absolute, the idea of morality could be perceived as absolute, and then you end up in a conversation with somebody who has subjective opinions, and then you start trying to say, well, hold on, buddy, if good is good and bad is bad, and that's supposed to be a universal concept, if your observation of what is good is subjective, how can good and bad be absolute? If it's good in some situations and it's bad in other situations, the exact same action, then that means it's subjectively good, it's subjectively bad, which also means that it's not absolute. It just depends. And if it depends, then, uniformly speaking, if I decided to do something a certain way, no matter who's involved with the situation, sometimes you would say, oh, it's good because of this reason. And sometimes you would say, oh, that exact same action is bad because of this reason. But I'm going to do it anyway because I uniformly believe that if I'm going to do this, regardless of who's there, I'm going to do it. Let me give you a nice example. Remember back in the day, and some people still do it today, if you step on my J's, I'm going to knock you out. Right. Now, if that mentality was a thing, it doesn't matter if a stranger does it. It doesn't matter if a guy that's 6'3" does it. It doesn't matter if a guy is 4'2" does it. It doesn't matter if a woman does it. It doesn't matter if a child does it. It doesn't matter if my sister or my mom or my daughter does it, or my son does it, or my aunt or my nephew does it. If it's universally expected that if somebody steps on my Jordans, they get knocked out, I'm not supposed to say, well, I'm going to knock you out unless you're somebody that I like, because my universal concept is no longer uniform if I say that specifically certain people are excluded from getting knocked out. Now, that's what the argument was about. No, that's not what the argument was about in the comment section. That's what the argument was about on the show, was the difference between having a universal expectations of right and wrong, good and evil, moral and ethical, versus having subjective observations. We get into the comment section. One of the fans that I was talking to, even earlier today, I was talking to him in the comment section, and he was trying to make it seem like I was strawmanning the topic, because he would ask me, well, yes or no, is it arbitrary? Well, I asked you that. And now you're asking me to not only decide for myself if I decide if it's arbitrary or not, you then want me to define the foundation, fundamental, core aspects of if it is an objective absolute scenario or if it is a subjective or relative scenario. Then you ask me two side-by-side questions like, is it absolute and objective, or is it subjective or relative? And I'm like, hold on. Yeah, because you're asking me broad spectrum questions, and then you have the concept, because first of all, my question to him was about an individual person. Can a single person have a uniform linear observation of morality and take action on that morality without subjective external influence? So can I, as an individual, or can you, as the person watching this podcast right now, have a linear expectation, a uniformed, unmodifiable expectation of good and bad, right and wrong, moral or non-moral, that cannot be influenced by the environment that you live in? If the answer to that is no, then there's a series of questions that come behind that. But if the answer to that is yes, you can, then the question is, if you stuck to your perspective, if this is right to do, no matter what goes on, this is right to do, but you're in a society that sometimes subjectively decides that that's not right to do, do you believe that you would be morally right for doing it? Or do you believe that you would be negatively judged by your environment because you're doing what you believe is the right thing to do in every circumstance? Now, clearly, some of these answers could be potentially answered by the question in and of itself. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't want to answer the question. He wants me to define it. And that's where my problem came from. Because it's like, well, I can't tell you yes or no specifically, yes, it can be universal, or no, it cannot. And then he wanted me to determine, can it be subjective and objective at the same time? Well, the problem is that you yourself, because you're asking me a secondary question, have to define under what circumstances. You want me to define under what circumstances, but you then want me to answer you yes or no, can it be done? But that was my question to you. So look, we're spinning wheels here, going in circles. Funny. So I answered him. I said, look, individually, yes, you can. Socially, no, you cannot, because individually, you can have a moral compass that is not modified at all. Socially, two different people can have the same opinion, but two different people could also have different opinions of their expectations of morals. In the same society, if two different individuals or two different groups of people have different understandings of morals and ethics, that society's administration of morals and ethics will be subjective to the individuals that are administering either consequence or the lack of consequence to the actions that are being provided that could be perceived as moral or ethical. For example, human testing. Scientists believe that it's necessary. People who are not scientists believe that human testing is atrocious. Some people say that it's good if you're doing human testing in order to cure cancer. Some people say that it's bad if you're doing human testing in order to see if it's going to negatively impact your face with makeup. Some people think that animal testing is wrong. Some people think that who cares as long as it's not happening to humans. These differences of observations means that the moral construct of human testing versus animal testing is arbitrarily ascribed to the individual that's judging the scenario. It's subjective, right? But the individual person involved in the situation can that person's observation of morality be linear? So when we started working down that Ferris wheel, the fan comes back and says, I'm doing a straw man. How am I doing a straw man? Because that was my question to you. You redirected the question back to me and wanted my response in a yes or no fashion. I have to first define that no, you cannot do that in a society, but yes, you can do that in an individual. And no, an individual cannot be with an absolute singularity perspective of morality and still be subjective at the same time. Because if it's right 100% of the time, it's absolute. If it's right 99% of the time, it's still subjective. Because there's still 1% of the time that conditions change absolution. And when conditions change absolution, it's no longer absolute. Now, can we determine that it can never be absolute, but we perceive it as absolute because that 1% of the time might not occur in our lifetime? That we couldn't even get to that question because he's spinning wheels. So fan comes back and tells me that, I'm degrading a straw man topic. And I'm sitting over here laughing at the fact that I can't straw man my own topic. I can't straw man my concept of observation. How you doing, Red Void? I see you there. I can't straw man my own topic. And then after I straw man my own topic, dismantle my straw man topic when I asked you, can a person have a non-modifiable moral direction that is not subjective to its environment? How can I straw man my own question? Because I'm answering your question. So long story short, we get down to the nitty gritty of the conversation. I'm waiting on him to respond in the comments. And this is what I told you guys. I respond to everybody's comments. If you send me a message, YouTube, TikTok, or Twitter, I check all the messages from everywhere, and or Twitch. If you guys send me a message, I respond to the messages everywhere. It's easier to find them on TikTok and YouTube. And sometimes if you guys are on Twitter, it's sometimes easy to find on Twitter. Messages on Twitch do occur more like notifications, not like, hey, Silly Harpy sent me a message. I don't get those like that. But comment section in the YouTube page, big old box in the middle of the screen, so I can just read those very easily. Kind of got a fish form on TikTok. But I still respond to everybody that actually makes it a legitimate comment. Now, people who say things that are just disrespectful, like you're just going to call me stupid for the sake of calling me stupid, like, yeah, I'm not going to entertain that. Not even going to leave that comment up there. But for those of you that actually have something to say, you can completely disagree with me. By all means, I'll leave that up there, and we can even deliberate on that in an appropriate fashion. I'm not going to call you stupid. I'm not going to degrade you as a person. I just wanted to really analyze and understand and make it make sense, your comments and your statements. So before we dive into today's show, today's topic of discussion, once we got down to the nitty gritty of the situation, and I know I said that 2 or 3 times already, this is the part where things got funny. He was at work earlier today, so we couldn't really take the time to really read everything that I wrote, because I write novels. Fuck, I'm sitting here doing a 3-hour podcast. I write how I talk. So you understand, when I gave him a response, it wasn't a short one. It was never a short one. My shortest one was like a 5-minute text message to read. So never give him a short response. And it took me probably 30 or 45 minutes to write it, because not only did I read it, I analyzed it. I looked over everything that he wrote, because he wrote me a 5-minute response. So I made sure I covered all of his points. And then I made sure that I double checked all of my points to make sure that I was that if I had to restate my previous statement, that I would tag my previous statement, so that you understand that, I'm not changing this conversation at all. We're linearly staying exactly where we were, which is the beginning of the conversation. What's your opinion on this? And the funniest thing is that I asked him, I said, well, if person on the left believes that something's moral and good, and person on the right in the exact same situation, looking at the exact same series of events, says that exact same situation is immoral and bad, who's right? Either neither one of them or both of them, or depending on the circumstances of the situation, which is subjective, one of them is going to be right because you agree with that person's values, and the other person will be deemed wrong because you disagree with that person's values. But he couldn't even answer the question. But he's like, oh yeah, some of your questions are moot. He learned the word moot. I'm surprised he spelled it correctly. But you're gonna tell me that my question is moot, meaning that it doesn't mean anything. No, it's a philosophical question. A question can answer itself when you ask me, why is my dead cell phone not charged, or why does my dead cell phone not work? It doesn't work because it's dead. Why does my internet not work when my modem is broken? Well, if your modem is broken, that's why your internet's not working. If you answer the question inside of the question, you can answer yourself. But if I asked you an open-ended question that requires a analyzation and then a response, then it's not a moot question. There's no such thing as stupid questions, just inappropriate times to ask certain questions. I'm not even going to say that there's a wrong time to ask a question. I would say that there are some inappropriate scenarios where asking that particular question is not a good idea, but I'm not going to tell you that it's wrong or that the question is stupid or that you individually would be perceived as stupid for asking the question. Because in order for you to get answers and in order for you to obtain new knowledge and new information, you must ask questions, which also means that you must ask questions when you don't have those answers. And when is the right time to ask a question? When is the right time to tell somebody they're going to die? When is the right time to tell somebody that they're not going to succeed? When is the right time to tell somebody that they suck? When is the right time to tell somebody they're a horrible person? When is the right time to administer bad news? When is the right time to destroy somebody's hopes and dreams and admirations with bad news? That there isn't a good time. You delaying the inevitable because you emotionally cannot withstand the devastation you're about to put on the other person is the reason why you can never find a right time for you to cope with what you're about to do. But when a doctor comes out of a surgery room and they have to tell the family waiting in a lobby that the person that they were operating on didn't make it, there is no right time to tell you that the person in the operating room didn't make it. But at some point, you got to come out of that room and tell them he's not here anymore or she's not here anymore. They didn't survive. If your loved one goes overseas and joins the military and they don't make it, so they lost their life overseas in combat or had unexpected combat when they were actually deployed in a no combat zone and ended up under unexpected combat. Somebody has to come back to that person's family and tell them, hey, your loved one is no longer alive. When is the right time to do that? The same way we have women these days and throughout history who did not feel comfortable in their relationship telling their husband or their boyfriend that they were pregnant. When is the right time to drop that news? You don't know how the other person is going to take that. And because you don't know how that other person is going to take that, you don't want to be rejected because you're providing this information. You don't want to be abandoned with responsibility that you're not sure how to handle, but you don't want to keep this information to yourself. So when is the right time to say something? You dwell over it until you build up the courage to do it. Long story short, it's not a moot question. If you ask me, would I be okay with you being pregnant or not? That gives you the ground floor to know that if you ended up pregnant, whether it be intentional or accidental, if I tell you it's a good thing, then you'll be excited to say, hey, guess what? I got pregnant last week. But if you got pregnant for somebody that wasn't me, it's not going to be the same response. Yeah, it's good for you to get pregnant, but if it's not mine, am I really going to be happy to find out about that? But then the question is, would I prefer for you to get an abortion or would I prefer for you to keep the child and then I adopt the child and raise it as my own? You're not going to know what my response is going to be to that until you come and ask me. So there's never a wrong time to ask a question, and no question is ever moot. An answer could be moot. A statement could be a moot statement, because if you understand that the answer to the question was already answered before you asked the question, then you're dealing with a situation where there's nothing else needs to be said, which means the answer is moot because everything was already said before the question was asked. But the question itself is not moot. Moving on. I had to get that little rant out because, I told him, I said, hey, I got the show every night of the week, 9 Eastern, 7 days a week. Come to the live podcast. We'll talk about it. He didn't come to the live podcast, but we started 40 minutes late. So, kind of my fault that we started 40 minutes late, first person accountability. I'm not going to blame TikTok's 40 minutes to load on my computer because my internet is down, and I'm not going to blame my phone company for not providing me with the modem that I needed when I should have, knowing that my system is running slow, uploaded this shit 3 hours ago so that it would have been on standby for me to go live on time. But you guys already know that if I start the show at 8 and I'm going to do about an hour show minimum, then if I started at 8 Central or 9 o'clock Eastern, then I'd be wrapping the show up at like 9:20. Now I started 40 minutes late. I'm going to give you guys a minimum hour podcast. That means that you guys get to enjoy me until about 10:30, 10:45 Central Time, which is actually about 11 or so Eastern Time. So those of you that are Romania, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning right now. You get me for an extra 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Woo! So you can drink your coffee and listen to me talk shit and enlighten you, inspire you, motivate you, empower you, and encourage you to keep driving and keep grinding. So, it's a good thing that I started 40 minutes late. You never know. I might decide to start doing the show 40 minutes late on a regular basis. Right now, I actually have contracts that I have to fulfill, usually at midnight Central Time, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. And that's one of the reasons why I run a podcast between 9 Eastern and 11 Eastern. So doesn't stop me from being able to start the podcast at 10 Eastern and run it from 10 to 11. But giving a 2-hour podcast from 9 Eastern to 11 Eastern is a lot better than giving a podcast from 10 Eastern to 11 Eastern. But I mean, depending on the topic, depending on the information that I have and the amount of engagement that I have on the topic, depends on whether or not I'm going to do me a 1 hour or an hour and 25-minute podcast. Or like I had when me and Red Boy went on that long back and forth conversation and we was on here for 3 hours and 45 minutes. That was an awesome show because we really had insightful back and forth conversation, which I encourage from you guys. So, I mean, if I'm going to lecture you, I'm only going to lecture you for an hour and 20 minutes. I got to pee with all the coffee. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit here for 2 hours and holding it because I'm drinking all this caffeine to stay awake. I'm drinking all this water to keep talking, and then I still got to go relieve the beaver. Nah, that's okay. I'll just end the podcast and then hang out in the bathroom for a little bit. But I mean, if I have somebody that I can communicate with, then by all means, I have no problem with holding a conversation for 4 hours. I'm good for that. Regardless of whether or not I'm inspiring you, enlightening you, providing you with advice, or if we're just debating. I don't mind having an argument with you on the podcast. I prefer for us to have an appropriate, mature debate. But I mean, if you really want a bad girls club the situation, I can entertain that too. To a degree, because there's no direct insulting one another. There's no direct attacks on one another because we got some community guidelines that we got to follow on a live podcast. You understand that part. Now, today's show was supposed to be about your inner circle, the people that you trust the most, the people that you keep closest to you, your homies, your road dogs. Sometimes it's the people that you grew up with. It includes your family. It includes your loved ones, so your husband or your wife, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your jump offs, your friends with benefits, all these people that are involved in your life. These people can improve your success and drive you further towards your success if they are in some shape or form working towards the betterment of you. Now, quick. I got 3 cups here. Before I go into that, I just wanted to say, did you know that when you're experiencing dehydration, segue, Red Void, you love it. Segue. Did you know that when you experience dehydration, drinking water doesn't always fix the problem? And ironically, I did a lot of research on this and actually talked to a couple of hospitals about it, and come to find out that one of the aspects of dehydration is the lack of sodium in your body. And when they replenish and rehydrate your body, they usually use a potassium drip. And potassium drips are typically sodium and water, salt water. So, if in the event that you've been drinking water all day, but you're still dealing with dry mouth, you still feel kind of thirsty, you still feel kind of fatigued, like you don't have enough fluids in your system, just a tip. And I just thought about that when I tasted my water. Just a tip. Sprinkle some salt into your water. Just take some iodized salt, some regular, just table salt, just teaspoon of salt into your water and consume that. And you will feel so much better without having to spend $3 a bottle for Gatorade with 80 grams of potassium, which is freaking bottle of salt Kool-Aid. Just information out of the blue that I just thought would benefit you. You're welcome. Back to boost. back to boosting up your network. No matter who they are, I've said this a plenty of times. Like I talked, Mr. Pibbs and I talked about this, and I told you, Red Voice specifically, I told y'all before that you're not supposed to associate with your associates. And why is this? Is because those people are not investing in you. And why do you need people to invest in you? People investing in you is not just people spending money on you. And that's one of the things that I want to point out when I get started. Because when I say investing in you, a lot of times, especially women, believe that, oh, investing in him means that he wants you to spend money on him and buy him things and do this and do that and do the other. No, that's not always the case. And that's one of the reasons why we try to find higher value women, because when a woman invests in a man, she doesn't necessarily have to pay the man to invest in the man. It's just doing certain things for the man to improve the man's position to be successful is investing in a man. Because you can invest with money, you can invest with time and effort equivalent to investing with money. But if you don't have time and effort, you can throw money at it. But the emotional attachment to the time and effort is not there when you throw money at it. This is the same way where you can actually be there raising your kids and be more respected by your kids than somebody who sends money for the kids to be taken care of, but never actually puts any effort into being present in the child's life directly. There's less emotional attachment there. Now, the kids will say, yeah, I've never needed for anything, but what I really needed and what I really wanted was your presence, and your presence wasn't there. And that's what I'm mad about. Not that I did not have my bare necessities. It's just the fact that I didn't have you, you know. So it's not always throwing money into the pot that is considered an investment with social networks. So you have to look at how people are contributing towards your success. Your parents contribute towards your success. Moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, when they're giving you advice that helps you improve. Some of them can give you financial advice. Some of them can give you network advice, telling you where to go to get a job, telling you who to talk to get hired, telling you who not to talk to bypass obstacles. When you're getting advice from individuals who are showing you that the things that you are trying to accomplish are not in line with your overall agenda, that scenario is also a camera. One up there for TikTok, one right here for y'all. Where was I? Oh, the advice from the family members, the jobs where you have those obstacles where things aren't going the way you want them to go, and they'll give you advice to get over those hurdles so that you can be successful. Advice is investment in you. And you can get advice from your friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be elders. You can get words of wisdom from an old homeless person. You can get words of wisdom from a 9-year-old child. You know, nobody is excluded from being able to positively impact and influence your success. However, you have to double check your network. And the reason why you have to double check your network is because you cannot be involved or allow yourself to stay involved with people who do not give you positive advice. People who tell you to get in trouble as a solution to your problem. people who tell you to sacrifice your position as a solution to your problem, people who say, you know, cut and run instead of finding ways to do collateral damage and be successful, are people who are sacrificing your position in the situation. For example, if you're having a disagreement with your girlfriend, for a guy to tell you to cheat on your girlfriend with another woman, you're going to lose both of those women because women are jealous in America. If you go to another country where a woman doesn't mind being the extra woman, like I seen a video the other day where this woman was like, oh, I'd prefer to be the fourth wife than the second or third wife, because she was talking about how she had so many things that she wanted to do. She wanted to be career driven. So she wanted the benefits of being a wife without having to really give 100% to the husband, where she would only be there maybe 25% of the time. And then the rest of the time she's reaping the rewards of being a wife, and she's your problem when I don't, or he's your problem when I don't want to deal with him, kind of thing. And I mean, truth, that does work out in favor of a man, because if one woman has a bad attitude and the other woman is available, whatever attention that you want, you can get from the woman that doesn't have the bad attitude. You've got those women that say, oh, I have a headache. You're not going to date 7 girls and all 7 of them have a headache on the same day. There's something wrong with you when that happens. If you've got a different girl for every day of the week, they only got to spend time with you once a month, or 4 times a month. But if they're getting the girlfriend and wife treatment 30 days out of the month and they only got to pay attention to you once a week, then, you know, they shouldn't complain about that, which also begs to differ. I got to make it short about this. I just want to ask, ladies, why don't y'all collectively attach yourselves to men? Why do you have to be exclusive to a man where the man has to dedicate himself to just you? Then you're going to treat him like shit. Then you're not going to give him any of the needs that he's supposed to have, but you're going to take all of his money. Why can't you share him with the other women that you would know, because you would be part of a collective, and y'all just split the profits and take turns dealing with his bullshit if you feel like the man is giving you bullshit? Well, it doesn't make more sense. Like, if 5 girls got together and dated a guy, each one of them would have him one day out of the week, and you know the man's got to work. There's going to be 2 days out the week that y'all don't got to mess with. So that means that the 5 of y'all only got to see him once a week, which means you only got to see him 4 times a month. And if he got enough money to give all of y'all the same standard of living 365 days out of the year, and you only got to see the man 52 times out of the year to get that lifestyle, why are you not hooking up with your homegirls, like set it off and just ride the wave? He could take turns smashing y'all. If it's your time of the month, it ain't her time of the month. One of y'all gonna sleep with him. You ain't feeling like it today. You go tap Tuesday on the shoulder and let Tuesday do it. You know, you can switch shifts. Today's Thursday. You can have Tuesday take today and you take Tuesday next week. It don't matter. But the fact is that if y'all did that, then y'all instead of y'all fighting over the man and beating up the man and treating the man like garbage, y'all can actually keep the man happy, aid the man in his success, and then the man would be able to spend more money on y'all because y'all would be aiding him in being financially successful, and all 5 of y'all would be kept. And truth be told, on a lower scale, don't necessarily have to be 5. 2 or 3 of y'all can get together and just collaborate on the same man. And because it takes 2 or 3 incomes to live in a house these days. The standard of living has gone up to, I told y'all before, it's almost $7,000 a month. And the average income right now is almost $2,500 a month. So isn't it fair to say that it would take 3 incomes in order to live in a house these days in America? Well, if it takes 3 incomes in order to live in a house in America, that's the man and 2 girlfriends. Problem solved. And if he's bringing in more than half of it, the 2 of y'all don't have to spend that much money, because if he's paying for 50 or 60% of it and y'all are both splitting the remaining 40%, y'all both got 80% of your income that y'all can waste on shit that matters to y'all, and he's taking care of the bulk of y'all. So why don't y'all get together and make that shit work? Truth be told, the older that we get, the ratio of men to women in the United States is 2 women to every man over the age of 45. I do believe, if I remember correctly, it's 2 women to 1 man between 35 and 40. Or it starts getting that way. It's like 1.2 or 1.6 women per man, which is basically 1.5 women. So she might have 2 dudes, but he can still have 2 chicks, and the other guy can still have 2 chicks, and 2 of them chicks aren't the same chick out of the 5 of them. But point of the matter is that if y'all pulled it together, which we're gonna, I think I have it in there somewhere in our lineup over the next month. We're going to be talking about the open relationships in the Gen Z area, and this is part of that. Because, truth be told, you guys could literally pull y'all money together. Y'all could come up, because if 2 of y'all are able to have 80% of your income, half of the money that you're not spending, which is 40% of your income, you could actually invest in things which aids all 3 of y'all in to be able to increase your wealth. Where if y'all ended up with children in the mix, y'all had money to take care of kids, y'all still had investment money, y'all have travel the world money, y'all have shopping spree money, and y'all will be able to better influence the economy, where you're buying real estate. And real estate, everybody's talking about real estate, and real estate's a serious thing. The 2 aspects about real estate is that you need a buyer and a seller. And the fact is that the more people that start buying real estate, the more people that can sell real estate. But the difference is that the people that are encouraging you to flip houses, or encouraging you to buy and sell, which causes you to forcibly pay taxes immediately upon the sale of that house, are just keeping the market turning. A lot of the people that have been in the game so long that they don't even care anymore, those people are telling you, hey, if you buy the property, fix it up, keep it, rent it out, you'd be making untaxable income for the rest of your life off of each one of those properties. And they're right, because if you got a 30-40 year mortgage on this property, you got 30-40 years of tax coverage on that property, but you're getting a residual income off of that property for an extended period of time. It's hard to find ways to get money, because while they tell you that there's ways to get money, it's just, if you don't know the right person and you don't have the right access to the right assets, it's hard for you to be able to prove that you qualify to get money to be able to go and buy some shit. And if you don't have the right sources, you don't have the right information. You can get into real estate by investing. You can get into real estate by having good credit. But if you don't have good credit and you don't have a quantity of money to get started with, it is hard to get in there if you don't know where to look. And that's one of the reasons why everybody's not involved in real estate, because if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, you don't have good credit at the same time, you're not able to go and get those loans and those mortgages and all of those other financial benefits that aid you in, getting real estate with no money down, with no credit check, because it doesn't work that way. Now, it does work that way, but we don't look for it to work that way, because you got to find the right person that's willing to give you money without checking your credit and without you putting any money down. Which means in those usually in those situations, what they don't tell you is that there's got to be a very large profit on the back end of that deal, and the person that's going to front you the money is expecting to get the money out of that profit, out of that deal. So you got to look at that. And that's where getting information from other people in your network comes from. Assets in your network will tell you where to go and who to talk to and what to do. They don't have to give you money. Now, if you're tight, you need some cash, it's not a lot, and somebody that you know has it, yeah, you can go ask them for it. And if they give it to you, they're able to keep you afloat, keep you from falling off, keep your ship from sinking by helping you patch holes. But giving a man a fish feeds him for a day, and teaching a man a fish feeds him for life. Showing you how to make money for you gives you the ability to have money generating revenue in addition to the money that you're making on your own. Increasing the amount of money that you have coming in by following these methods aids you in the ability in increasing your general overall wealth. Increasing your general overall wealth allows you to either waste time paying off a bunch of back debt or investing in future assets. If you're investing in future assets that maintains its value or increases its value over time, then 5 or 6 years from now, something that you bought that was worth $100,000 might be worth $400,000. You could sell it, or you could keep it, will it to your kids. Something that was $20,000 or $30,000 of investment money back in the day could be $200,000 in 5 or 10 years, where you've got boatloads of money because you were able to invest it and leave it there. So having your money make money for you does two things for you, because it allows you to give you more investment opportunities to put money somewhere and have a larger return expected for you in the long run. But it also gives you the ability to have retirement money, because after a certain age, you're exempt from paying personal taxes. Your businesses aren't, but you are. Most of the stuff that you do under your business name. And, then when you start gaining assets, you're going to be, dealing with taxes versus profits. But you're also looking at the fact that overall, you're not having to work for, the day-to-day 9-to-5 job to get that money. You're able to have that money coming in from somewhere, balance your budget. You might have to pay taxes at some point, but a lot of times you don't have to pay taxes for the longest period of time. They got so many real estate investors that says that the first several years that they were figuring this situation out, as they were maximizing their money, taking their profits and reinvesting it back in, they were not having to pay for the taxes on the profits that they were receiving, because the quantity of money that they made was offset by the quantity of money that they were spending. Typically, when it comes to expansion, the government taxes businesses. Hold on, two things. The government taxes LLCs up to 35%. But the government taxes C corporations up to 20%. Expansion requires you to take 40 to 60% of your profit and reinvest it back into your business, and investments into your business is a tax write-off. If you're putting 40 to 60% back into the business to pay for the operation costs and expansion of the business, you're exceeding the capital limits of your tax deductions, because you get a deduction for spending money on your business. That's how you keep the other 40%, the other 60 to 40%, by reinvesting into your business. So you don't just buy one house and turn a profit off of that house for the rest of your life. You buy one house, take the profits off of that one house and buy a second house, take the profits off of those 2 houses and buy 4 houses, take the profits off the 4 houses and buy 8 houses. And you keep doing that. And because you keep doing that, you're going to receive a residual income from all 8, 10, 12, 20, 30 houses, but you have an overhead of expenses for all the extra shit that you bought every year. Typically, if you're reaping the rewards and spending money in first quarter of the year, where you're getting all of your money in first quarter of the year, and then you start spending money, which is why you want to get your C corporations and your LLC set up for annual taxes, not quarterly taxes. Because if it's quarterly taxes, you got to file taxes every 3 months, and you have to pay taxes every 3 months on the money profits that you make. And then they will reimburse you at the end of the year if the money that you paid in the taxes was more than what you were obligated to pay. I'm not trying to prove to you that I am entitled to get money back. I just don't want to have to pay you shit. So once a year is how you want to set your business up. But by doing that, in quarter 1 and quarter 2, you can get profits in. In quarter 3 and quarter 4, you invest money into the business so that you spent more money than you made. Or you spent more than 40% of what you made on the business, so that when you're doing taxes in quarter 1 for last year, you spent more money than you're required to pay taxes on, and everything is accounted for. And if you're able to do an itemized tax return that shows, hey, I bought this, all the way down, they're going to say, hey, you know what? You don't got to pay. Good. I don't have to pay. So the rest of the money that I got is mine. That's how that works. And you can do that one or two ways. You can waste it to go buy you a Bugatti, or you can invest it until You reach a certain quantity of money. I had a man say, don't waste money on a Lamborghini. Keep investing it into real estate until you make enough money to get that Lamborghini for free. What he meant was, if a Lamborghini costs $500,000 and you're making enough money to owe the government $500,000 worth of taxes. If you bought a Lamborghini for the business and wrote off 100% of the value of that Lamborghini from the business as a tax write-off, you don't have to pay the $500,000 to Uncle Sam that year, and you get a Lamborghini. That balanced itself out. You technically got a free car because you had a choice. Yeah, give Uncle Sam $500,000 to go buy you a $500,000 car. That model makes sense. That there is a limit to the type of vehicles that you can buy, but anything that is considered a company vehicle, where the vehicle is considered to be used, especially 100% of the time by the company, where it's not personal use, that vehicle can 100% depreciation can be written off of the taxes allotted for that year. So if you owe $100,000 worth of taxes, or say $60,000 worth of taxes, you buy two $50,000 trucks for your business. If you owed $60,000 of taxes, you bought two $50,000 trucks, you don't owe taxes. If you are a business that is utilizing those trucks for the business, because you bought two brand new trucks this year, you don't pay taxes. But you didn't actually buy two brand new trucks this year where you paid cash up front for those two trucks. You financed those two trucks. So you only put up $8,000 for each truck to get two trucks. And then the value of those two trucks are written off on the $60,000 that you owed Uncle Sam. So you spent $16,000 to not pay $60,000. And then you take the profits throughout the year and pay notes on a truck. But you take profits out of the all of the assets that you're making to pay for the truck. The truck pays for itself. The truck's making you money. You're not paying taxes on the money on the truck, and the business is paying for the truck. You don't pay for shit. You got a free truck. That's the kind of stuff that you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to have the type of network that's supposed to be able to aid you with these types of endeavors. Your inner circle is supposed to be able to benefit you. I say this all the time. And all of the information and advice that you guys get from me, I should be in everybody's inner circle. But you should be able to have people in your inner circle that are able to tell you, what's good for you, know what you're trying to accomplish, and then try to lead you in that direction. So let's say you've got you're a hard worker. You're a manual labor worker. You got homeboys that like to sit around the house and do nothing. Hang out, party, nothing. They're wasting a bunch of money on throwing back beers or top shelf liquor, but not really aspiring to anything. I already told you guys about how a couple $100 a week, you could turn that into a few $100,000 in a few years if you're investing it instead of wasting it on getting fucked up. If you got friends that put more time, effort, and money into getting fucked up and less time, money, and effort into becoming wealthy, you can get fucked up at a later age when you don't need money. But when you need money and you're taking bill money, or you're taking money that could be utilized for potential emergency funds, and you are wasting it on entertainment, when you can have fun for free, like legit. I got Netflix on my business account. Business pays for the bill. I watch Netflix. The bill that the business paid for, tax write-off. I can entertain myself with Netflix for free. The profits from the business pays for my Netflix. Why would I take $300 and go to the movies and watch the movie when I can watch it on my cell phone? There's other apps like HDTV and stuff to that effect that you can watch bootleg movies fresh out of the movie theater before it hits Netflix. So why would I spend $150 to go watch the movies by myself when I can watch the movie on a off-brand app on my cell phone? I can go get a box of popcorn from Walmart for like $5, which gives me 8 different bags of popcorn instead of spending $15 or $20 for popcorn at the movie theater. I can buy a 2-liter of soda for $2 instead of paying for one 8-ounce cup for $8, full of ice, no soda, right? And I don't have to deal with people that do not have self-control or mutual respect for their peers. I was about to say stupid people, but that's not necessarily true. They're not necessarily stupid. They're just disrespectful. So don't have to deal with that. Why would I waste so much money? Do you notice how much money I actually spent? If Netflix is $20, the popcorn is $5, and the $2 for the 2-liter, $3 for the 3-liter, I barely paid $20 for a $150 experience at a movie theater. I got the same reclining chair they've got. I've got the same capabilities to use a surround sound system at my house that they have, if I really wanted the surround sound experience. But if I just wanted to see the movie for the sake of seeing a movie, I could just do it on my cell phone. I don't need surround sound. I could do it on my laptop and get the surround sound out of these headphones. Don't need all of that. But I would have saved over $120 4 times a month, $480. What did I tell y'all that y'all can do with $200? Get you a checking account with a 5% interest on it. Use Pionex trade bots and put that shit into a stock option, whether it be trading on the Wall Street market or trading Bitcoin. $480 added to your investment capital every month, where right now Bitcoin is $72,000. If you would have picked up Bitcoin when Bitcoin was $20,000 and right now it's $72,000, that $20,000 Bitcoin would be worth 3.5 Bitcoin right now. If you had 20 grand for one Bitcoin last year when Bitcoin was $20,000, 18 months later, that one Bitcoin is now worth 3.5 Bitcoins, where you actually could sell 2 out of 3 of the Bitcoins that you would have gotten and still had 1.5 Bitcoins left, or actually 2.5 Bitcoins, because it's worth now. When it was worth 20, it's now worth 72. If you would have sold 40 grand worth of Bitcoin, you would have still had 32 grand worth of Bitcoin and a 40 grand profit that you could have took and invested into some fucking real estate. And you still would be able to utilize that 32 grand worth of Bitcoin. That Bitcoin would still be making money for you. This is what I'm telling y'all. Right now, while it's 72 grand, you might as well wait till it starts going back down, because it's peaked for the year and we're creeping into October. It's going to start going down right after Halloween. It's going to go back up a little bit. Then it's going to go right back down again for Thanksgiving. It's going to go back up a little bit. Then it's going to tank one more time right before Christmas, but it's going to go right back up again because, everybody's going to invest back into their Bitcoin investment before the end of the tax season, so that they don't got to pay taxes on the profits. But they're going to cash out on that Bitcoin so that they can buy gifts for their family members. They're going to cash out on the Bitcoin so that they can buy a lavish Thanksgiving dinner for their family. They're going to cash out on the Bitcoin in order to get Halloween stuff for their family members. So you see the market trends when the stock is going to go down. Knowing when the stock is going to go down, that's when you invest in it. You don't have to wait until March when it's at its lowest, or April when it's at its lowest. You could just catch it December 24th or November 25th or October 28th. There are some hints right there. Just go see, and you'd be like, damn, he said it was going to drop on these days. I'm just telling you, it is what it is. Fact is that if you know the right people, then you'll be able to better yourself. Now, here's another reason why your circle can drive you further or hold you back. Those bad choices that I was telling you about before. If you've got the kind of friends that make bad choices, Your emergency fund is not in case you do something. Your emergency fund is to bail out other people's stupid shit. You should not be putting up $250,000 to bail a buddy out of jail for some stuff that they should not have done. You should be able to tell them, don't do that. Your emergency fund should be if the house catches on fire, if the car gets totaled, if a natural disaster comes and destroys the house, if major repairs need to be done on the car, if major repairs need to be done on the house that are not done by careless behavior. I'm talking about the air conditioner breaks. I'm talking about the refrigerator goes out. I'm talking about you need to maintenance your washer or your dishwasher. I'm talking about like if you have a furnace that your furnace needs to be repaired, or your hot water heater or your boiler needs to be replaced. That's what I'm talking about. Major repairs. If the roof is leaking and you got to repair the roof, that's what emergency funds are supposed to be for. Getting somebody out of jail, paying for somebody's lawyer, that's not what emergency funds are for. That's taking care of stupidity. And we should not have that type of network with us. Paying for the damages that one of our friends causes, buying them $300 Ubers to travel them across town because they got fucked up and they can't get home. Taking collect calls from jail. Like none of these things we're supposed to be paying for. If that's what our inner circle is costing us, we're not supposed to be investing in that. When you're dating somebody who fucks your shit up by accident, but they expect you to pay for the damages, that's not good for you. Girlfriend crashes your car, she's not going to pay to fix it. She's not your girlfriend anymore. Fuck not letting her use your car anymore. It's like, nah. I am responsible for me. And the only time I'm responsible for you is when you follow my instructions. So if I tell you to take my car and go out there and go do something, and you do what I tell you to do, and you fuck up my car, then that's on me because you didn't have to go. I told you to go. But if you tell me what you're going to do, or you don't tell me what you're going to do, and you take my car and go do whatever you want to do, you need to be paying for my car. And if you are not paying for my car, you should not associate with me, because what I will do is civil action and hold you responsible for the damages done to my car. Likewise, ladies and gentlemen, I told y'all before that contracts are contracts. Assets and resources can be actionable in court. If you contractually lend out your vehicle to this person equivalent to the contracts that you have with the rental car companies, where the person borrowing your car is responsible for the maintenance and damages of the vehicle. If the car breaks, you can take legal action against them to get reimbursed for the damages done to the car. So girlfriend takes your car. If you're going to be serious about your shit, she's going to sign a contract in order for you to date her. In that contract, if she damages any resources, or those resources are damaged in her care, in her possession, that she is financially liable for the damages that occurred while the vehicle or object is in her possession. So if she takes the car to the mall and brings the car back with 4 dents in it, she's got to pay for the bodywork. She can what do they call that? Retroactively take legal action against the person that damaged the car so that she can get reimbursed, but she's got to pay you for the damages that had happened to the car. So it could be a double case where you're going to say, hey, you got to pay me for this car. And she's going to say, no, he's got to pay you for this car. When that guy pays her, she pays you, you're still not paying for your car. But if she's not going to outright say, okay, I shouldn't have parked it where I parked it at, I'm going to pay for the repairs, then your relationship is fine. If she's like, nope, it ain't my responsibility, you're the man in the relationship, you're supposed to pay for these things, legal action. She signed a contract. Legal action. She signed a contract. Terminate the engagement. Once you terminate the relationship, that legal action. She signed a contract. That's multiple different actions that's happening at the same time. But you have to remember, the friends that you keep, if they're going to give you good advice, they're assets. If they're going to give you bad advice, they're not assets. Let's dine and dash. Bad advice. Bad advice. Ordering a bunch of food, eating it, and then leaving a restaurant without paying for it. Bad advice. If you've got the kind of friends that gives you that bad advice, they're going to be talking you into going to jail for some shit. Let's go jump into that pool over there. There's a no trespassing sign. You're going to jump the fence anyway because you can't pick the lock. You're trespassing. You can go to jail for that. That could negatively impact your future. The dine and dash. That's fraud. That could negatively impact your future. Theft. That could negatively impact your future. You don't want to have a bad reputation. You don't want to associate yourself with people who have deliberately, not accidentally, because you have people that have been arrested for things that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time and they went to jail for that. And they have learned from the error of their ways. They served their time. They've paid their debt to their society. They have, if rehabilitation was needed, they rehabilitated themselves. They're a better person now. You cannot hold a person's past over their head for the rest of their lives and assume that they're going to be rehabilitated from past actions if you're going to forever condemn them for those actions. But the other problem is that you cannot continue to associate yourself with somebody who repetitively gets arrested for doing the same shit all the time. Homeboy goes to jail for drugs, gets out on probation, starts doing drugs. He's got a drug test next week. You don't need to be associating with that person. Why? Not because he does drugs, but because he does enough drugs that the police follow him around and pick him up on a regular basis, searching him for those drugs. The problem with that is that if he's at your house, the police might come to your house. If he's in your car, the police might stop your car. If he's trying not to get caught, he might, without your knowledge or consent, hide the drugs in your property. Possession is 9/10 of the law. So if the illegal contraband is in your possession, now you're getting in trouble for your friend's decisions. This is why you cannot have people with bad decisions in your company. You cannot have people with poor choices and bad comprehension skills in your company. Take people who have, they call them Hulk muscles, incredible Hulk muscles, where they drink a certain quantity of alcohol and then they believe that they're the strongest man in the world and they want to pick a fight with everybody in the vicinity. You're out there. As a not so well-known person, yeah, it's embarrassing. But as a businessman, that destroys your character to be involved in a bar fight. As an influencer, it actually damages your character to be associated with somebody that is involved in bar fights. Notice that when you watch the news, when you watch TV, TMZ, CNN, when they talk about celebrities, a lot of the times they don't talk about the celebrity themselves. They talk about the people that celebrity socializes with. Look at the current political campaigns that's happened over the past 8 years. They don't talk about the policies in debates. They don't really go over a real plan on a regular basis as to how to fix this country and make the 99% of the poor population, which is the 99% of the population, have a better way to go. They degrade each other's character, they devalue each other's integrity, and they accuse them of being bad people because they affiliate with bad people. So if your friend is a mafia leader, you are by default associated with the mob. If your friend is a local drug dealer, then you associate yourself with gang violence. If your friend is an addict, then you associate yourself with addicts. If your friend is a thief, you associate yourself with criminals. Notice how, because you're associating yourself with non favorable individuals, your integrity sounds bad. Take this for example. If you associate yourself with somebody who comes to fight you come to find out later on is affiliated with a terrorist group, guess what happens? You are an affiliate of a terrorist group, which puts you on the terrorist watch list because the person that you're hanging out with is also on the terrorist watch list. Do you see how that sucks? You become somebody that they have to monitor because you're with somebody they have to monitor. So this is one of the reasons why when you have people that you know make bad choices, kleptomaniacs, you have a friend that likes to steal shit. That's fine. You just can't go nowhere with me. You know what I'm saying? I can't go nowhere where anything is of value. If there's something not nailed down, I can't take you there. I should not ride with you in the same vehicle, but if I do, we're not going into the building at the same time. We're probably not going to go into the same building. But if we do go into the same building, you're going in first, and I'll follow you in like 5 minutes later. I don't want the video cameras to catch us together in this place. Like, I'm going to pretend like I don't know you until we leave this place. And we're not even going to be in a line at the same time. If I see you at the cash register, I'm going to go to the cash register after you have paid, if you pay. But after you've left the building, I will make sure I buy something. That way I am not affiliated with your thievery. And then when I walk out, we will not be affiliated with one another. If they ask me who you are, I'm not involved in this because I do not affiliate with him. See what I'm saying? So, truth be told, no, I don't get down like that. But if you have somebody that, like, kleptomaniacs are people too. Some people they're gonna call them diseases, uncontrollable urge to steal. But you're gonna have to figure out a way to control that urge if you're gonna be with me, because you ain't stealing shit around me where I can go to jail because I accompanied you with your thievery. That's not gonna happen. You have to make sure that you pay attention to the kind of company that you keep. People who commit white collar crimes, people who like to commit white collar fraud and other stuff like that. I don't want to affiliate with them either, because if I get money from you and I come to find out that the money that I got from you came from an illegitimate source, now I'm under an investigation because I got money from an illegitimate source, because I got money from you and you got money from an illegitimate source. Do you know how hard it is if you go to an ATM machine and you get a counterfeit dollar? If you don't recognize that and immediately bring it to the bank, you lost your money because you now have counterfeit money. You can't turn it in anywhere else. And if you turn it into the bank tomorrow or the next day or whatever, you just lost $100. They're just going to recognize, oh, counterfeit bill. They're not going to credit your account 2, 3, 4 days later. If you pull it out of the machine and you look over all of the bills that you get out of the ATM machine and come to find out that one of those bills is not legitimate, you go back to the bank and you say, hey man, this bill ain't real. It came out of the ATM machine. They might give you a credit for that bill. But before they do it, they're going to get all of your personal information, report the fact that you were in possession of a counterfeit bill, and then they're going to run all the cameras back and confirm that they received money from you and that this particular bill was included in the sequential bills that could have been issued to you that day that could determine that, yes, they did give you that money in order for them to give you your money back. But if they can't prove that the counterfeit bill came from them, they will report the fact that you turned in a counterfeit bill, but you're not going to get the value of that bill back. If you give them $100 counterfeit bill that you got out of their ATM machine, you just lost $100. It is what it is. So with that being said, you got to be careful with the company that you keep. You got to be careful with the individuals, how you handle your money and how they handle money around you. You got to be careful with that. The other reason why your inner circle can drive you to a higher level of success is because if you can trust your inner circle, then you have business partners. So you have people promoting your product. You have people where you can promote their product, because that's how the rich stay rich. That's another way how the rich stay rich. I make money off of the people that you know. You make money off the people that I know. So if I know that you've got something worth buying, I tell the people that I know in passing. If you know that I've got something worth buying, you tell the people you know in passing. You and I celebrate because I made extra money off the people that you know. You and I celebrate because you made more money off the people that I know. That's how the rich stay rich. I might do you a favor and introduce you to somebody who can spend a lot of money on your company. Keeps you out of the red. You aid me with getting the connection to somebody that I did not have access to. Gives me insider access. This is how the rich people stay rich. This is how people with good networks keep their networks moving for them. Knowing valuable people, having access to resources that less people have access to, and then utilizing that to leverage a negotiation is how you are able to improve your scenario. But it is not a good position for you to be able to say, okay, well, I know 3 people on probation. I know somebody who works a 9-to-5 high school dropout. I got 1 college student in my friend group that we went to college with, and we're going to become millionaires. Half of them don't work. The other half makes excuses. Nobody really wants to try. But when money starts coming in, everybody has their hand out. Oh, let me borrow some money. And then it takes them 9 months to bring it back to you. That's not a good circle to have. If you've got a good business idea, you tell your friends and you say, well, you're just short a certain quantity of money to get that business started up. They don't have to give you the money, but if they know where you can go to get the money, they should be able to help you get that money. It doesn't matter if you have to get a car loan. It doesn't matter if you have to get a cash advance. It doesn't matter if you have to get a higher line of credit or whatever the case may be. What matters is that in order for you to get what you're trying to get from them, they've got to have it to funnel to you. See what I'm saying? So I said last time, you cannot be the most successful person in your network. I said that you have to find people more successful than you. You don't need money from people that are more successful than you. You need knowledge. Because I said earlier in the show today, you give a man a fish, you feed him for today. But if you teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. I'm not going to waste my time buying you a piece of property that you're not going to take care of. I'm going to spend more time teaching you how to buy the property so that you can keep buying properties. I'm going to teach you how to get a property and then use that property to get money so that you still have money after you bought that property. It's not just you dumped a bunch of money onto this property. I want to show you how you put your money into this property and then get money out of the property so that you still got money, and then still be able to put more money into another property so that you can keep doing that. If I do that, then you're able to make money for you until such time as you got to start paying taxes on that money. And then if you're donating that money to a non-profitable entity that's going to benefit the local community, you can use that as a reputable source to boost the popularity of your business. And then you also can use the network that you build from that to get lots more accessibility to capital. Because your food for thought that people don't realize is that here in the United States, the government will give you a grant to do things that they're too lazy to do for themselves. They will not take care of the American people across the board, but they will definitely put money aside for somebody who has an idea to take better care of the American people. So if you find a way to fix a problem that the government knows exists, and they put money aside to allocate funds to fix this problem, if you fix the funds, they'll give the money to you to fix the funds. They'll give the money to you to fix the problem. That's how that works. So if you know how to fix the homeless population and you put together a process to do so, as you meet the qualifications of certain grants that they're put out there to help with homelessness, you will get the money. As long as you attribute that money directly to the project of taking care of those homeless, every time you reach out to them and say, hey, I'm taking care of homeless, look at all these homeless people that are being taken care of, they will give you money. And one or two ways that they give you money is that they'll give you money to either reimburse you for what you've already spent, or they'll give you money to expand what you're already doing. So if you're housing 15, 20 of them, and you need money to house 100 more, they will give you money to house 40, and then you house 40, then they will give you money to house 80, and then you house 80, and then they give you money to house the whole 100. Now you're housing 120 because you started with 20. You wanted to expand to 100. And as long as you're doing what you said you were going to do, they'll keep giving you the money. But then next year, when you do your paperwork and say, hey, I housed all these homeless people, I need more money, they will give you more money. There's a business proposition in there somewhere. Not too many people know about it. Not too many people utilize it, because individuals that focus on for-profit ventures only maximize their efforts on for-profit ventures. Individuals that focus on nonprofit ventures only maximize their knowledge and effort into nonprofit ventures. People in nonprofit ventures focus so much on trying to stay qualified for nonprofit qualifications that they never look at the joint venture for nonprofit and for-profits, where the nonprofit doesn't have to pay taxes and the for-profit gets a tax write-off for doing it. And everybody's making money. For-profit people only focus on how to use debt to leverage against taxes, and non-profit people utilize the maintenance of their nonprofit status in order to not have to pay taxes on the money that they make versus the assets that they gain from the money that they get. But they don't understand that there's a joint venture opportunity in there that's also a tax write-off. Notice how I said it twice. And I wanted to say it twice to cover both sides of the fence. But all of these things exist. And if you knew, and I tell you, for those of you that end up joining a membership, the higher tier memberships especially, I'll be putting a lot of this information out there for y'all to be able to come to find out, oh shit, this guy actually got a lot of backdoor information that not too many people are paying attention to, because we're not paying attention to the big picture. We're paying attention to specialties, because when you specialize in something, you can be the best at it or efficient enough to be self-sustainable. When you're the jack of all trades, you typically don't master any of them, but you're efficient enough to get the job done. People who end up with backdoor information typically take all of the core information from all of the different sources that they communicate with, which is why it's good for you to have a really good network, piece it all together and find a fucking gold mine that nobody has ever paid attention to, because it was spread out across a plethora of different locations. And once you put all that information together, it's almost like the Da Vinci Code, where you had to travel the world to get the map that you needed to find the treasure. There was a clue over here, there was a clue over here, there was a clue over here, and you had to piece all these clues together to get the final map of how to make the situation work. And the other area that's really involved with this is, how do you make it work legally? Because one thing that you don't want to do is set up an empire built on crime, where you are moving money around under the table and the government finds out about it. And then once the government finds out about it, you're like Andrew Tate, having all your assets being seized, have all of your property being taken away from you. Like MC Hammer, you go from being rich with a 52-bedroom house to going back to the hood and living in a 1-bedroom. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to, whatever empire that you build, that you can build it in the public eye and be respected and appreciated and valued for what you've done, or at least be honored and respected for the wealth that you've built, because rich people are idolized for being rich, not because they do anything for the poor. Famous people are admired for being popular, not because they did something for people who were not famous. Matter of fact, there aren't too many influencers that literally network with influencers that don't have a large popularity to aid the future of influencers to increase their network. Once you become famous, you really just try to maintain your own fame. Once you become wealthy, you literally just maintain your own wealth. Your goal, once you reach the top, is not to reach down and find people at the starting line and bring them to the finish line. Your goal, once you reach the top, is to not fall off. Once you get ready to retire, your second goal is to try to find a replacement like Raymond Reddington. But if you can't find a replacement, then you dismantle your empire and dissolve it before you pass so that nobody else can have the same power and control that you do, which means that you will go down in history as the most powerful person with the most effective network that you could have potentially created, because you don't have a lineage to pass that on to. Does that make sense? Which also means that the 1% is going to keep the wealth inside of the family legacies of the 1%. Arranged marriages. I don't know if I've already talked about this on the show before. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I think I'm going to be talking about it soon if I haven't started talking about it, because you got to think about it in 2024, the benefits of arranged marriages amongst the wealthy. Forced arranged marriages are unlawful, but if the daughter of one major company is going to inherit the company, and the son of another major company is going to inherit that company, they do a merger because these two get married. You know, IBM and AT&T do a merger, and all of a sudden, you know, you end up with something like Verizon, and the wealth stays, quote unquote, in the family, because one multi-million-dollar family married another multi-million-dollar family, and now they are a multi-million-dollar family or a multi-billion-dollar family, depending on how much money they had. They would prefer a multi-million-dollar family not to marry into a poor family, because that means that the wealth of the multi-million-dollar family would be saturated with the debt of the poverty family. But it is always highly encouraged that if the poor family has a female in it, to go marry a rich guy, because then inherently you'll be attached to riches. Prenup. So in order for you to get yourself up there to be recognized and respected on that value level, you have to put effort into getting your wealth up. So you got to affiliate yourself with the right people. Now, the other thing that is good about having a better network of people is because people who have more success than you have more connections than you. They can take you places you've never gone before, get you access to locations you've never been before, which gives you the ability to meet people that you otherwise would not have had the opportunity to meet. You would be able to shake hands with the right people, and then you would be able to get contact information with successful and or wealthier people who could then be your leverage in other negotiations. Because if somebody was trying to get in touch with Elon Musk and you've got Elon Musk's direct cell phone number, you could call Elon Musk and set up a dinner tomorrow. Elon will show up. This guy wants to meet Elon. All you have to do is strike a deal with this guy that benefits you, and you'll put him in the same room with Elon Musk. Problem solved. If I needed you to invest in my project and you was trying to get in contact with Elon, if you invest in my project, I'll set it up. Networking. And fact is that as an investor, you'd be entitled to dividends on the return anyway. So it would have benefited you to give me the money. But the fact is that I've got more leverage to convince you to invest, because I need to take the money that you invest and do what I need to do with the company. Now I'm successful, you get your dividends, then you can turn around and say, man, I invested in this and that, and I got all this extra money back, which means somebody else is going to invest. And that's when you start having a skyrocketing success rate, because of the network that you have. You'll be able to get a whole lot further in life knowing more successful people, because you're either going to be able to have more accessibility to wealth, You're going to have more accessibility to knowledge. You're going to have a larger network of people who know people who know people with financial power, who have political power, who have economical power, and you'll be able to utilize that power to your benefit, as long as you're not misusing it, where the person of power is offended by your actions and behavior, which again, be careful how you behave, first person accountability, but be careful about the people that you keep around you. So first person accountability of the wealthy people is that you're not going to keep people around you that are going to exploit your success for their own personal gain. And there's a difference between exploiting somebody's success for your own personal gain versus leveraging contacts. Exploiting my success for your personal gain would be getting me to sign papers and photo shoots and all this other bullshit at your homeboy's birthday recital for his kid. But getting me involved in a business deal where I'm going to make money and the other person is going to make money and you're going to be able to have money to get your business off the ground, that's leveraging contacts. So there's a difference. You know, me using your name to get into a club without having to pay, and then go sit at the VIP room without having to pay extra, and then have drinks on the house because I know you and you own the business, that's exploiting your resources. But me being able to get you as the owner of this nightclub in contact with a local famous DJ so that he can play into your nightclub, or you guys work out a contract where the local fans will now come to your nightclub, and your nightclub will have an increase in services. You're going to make money, and he's going to make money, and I'm potentially going to make money because I brought you two together. That is leveraging your network. There's a difference. So you've got to pay attention to what your friends are doing and how they're doing it. Now, the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is that you have to make sure that your family is not using you. You have to make sure that your friends are not using you. And how do you know about this? Is they have to give to you more than what they ask. So they can't just give you advice and then ask you for money and say, oh, well, you know, I helped you out by giving you knowledge. No. If you need money, you have to give money to get money. Laws of alchemy. Equivalent exchange. You must give money to get money, but you can give advice and you can give some resources to get other resources. But in order for you to come to me and ask me for money on a regular basis, you have to give me money on a regular basis. You can't just tell me ways for me to make money, and then after I put forth the effort to make the money, then you come and ask me for some of the money that I made. No. You do not get a percentage of my success because you told me how to be successful. You only get a percentage of my success if you invested financially or put in effort towards my success. If you close the deal, you put effort towards my success. But if you told me that there was an available deal that I had to close in order for me to be successful, and I put in the effort to close that deal, just because you told me that a deal existed doesn't mean that you're entitled to the success of that deal. So make sure that your family's not using you. Make sure that your friends aren't using you. Make sure that your girlfriend or your husband's not using you. Mostly women, because men less likely to use their woman financially. Not saying that men don't do it. I'm just saying it's less likely. It doesn't happen as often. Women, if you disagree, you can go ahead and show me some statistics where men actually are capable of dating women that are financially more successful than them, and how those men statistically have used women financially, which is why you women aren't dating men that make less money than you. If you can show me some statistics on that, I'd love to see it. But as it stands right now, typically women date up, the hypergamy theory. So if you're making 30, 40, 50, you're expecting your husband to make 60, 70, 80. If you're not, at best, he's got to make $10,000 or $20,000 a year more than you, no matter how much that you make. Sometimes they want you to make 30, 40,000 a year more than you, no matter how much you make. So if you make 20, he's got to make 30. If you make 40, he's got to make 70 or 60, something like that. And if not, if you guys make the same amount of money, he ain't worth your time, because women expect men to have more and do more and bring in more than women are expected to bring. And that's not conducive of equality, which is why I said uniformity. Whatever you expect to get out of a situation, you should be willing to put into that same situation. So if you're going to ask for more than what you contribute, you're not entitled to anything, or at least you're not entitled to anything you haven't already invested. Be that as it may, I gave you guys a nice good hour and a half today, so we went way further than we normally go. But either way it goes, I really appreciate you guys coming to the show tonight. I'm going to go ahead and sign out of TikTok first. So you guys, I tell you ladies, every day of the week that, you know, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, ladies, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. And then for the rest of you guys that are still here from Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys for showing us support on a daily basis. And it would really benefit us for you guys to continue to show us that love and support. I really appreciate it. It is always a pleasure, especially when you guys have comments and insight on the topics of discussion. It definitely boosts all of my, you know, expectations, and it's a pleasure. It is always a pleasure. So I really appreciate you guys when you guys are capable of doing it. But I also understand that YouTube is a type of platform and Twitch is another type of platform where people are more used to listening to the podcast and enjoying what's being said on the podcast as opposed to directly interacting with the podcast. And since I am a different type and style of podcast than other podcasts in the past, the way I encourage the direct face-to-face interactions and engagements is something that has not been readily done by podcasters in the past. So I understand that it's a work in progress, but the bigger we get, the more you'll see it happening. And dang, I didn't do it again today. I'm going to update it after the show today. We are right at 14,000 subscribers. So our that notation will be in there this afternoon. And then, yeah, as we get bigger, I'll let you guys know what's going on and as things change. But check out what we got going on the YouTube channel. We still have the shows going all the way out to about the 17th. I'm going to be adding more shows, more projected expectations for shows going, because we're going into the 17th of October right now. So I'm going to try to carry them out to about the 25th of October and make sure that all of the detailed information is on those shows so that you can see what those shows are about and be able to tag those shows, get the notifications 30 minutes before the show is scheduled to air. And then assuming that my router, my gateway comes in by the end of this weekend, I'd be able to start airing the show exactly at 9 o'clock instead of like 15, 20, 40 minutes after we're supposed to air. And then you guys will be able to still come in and enjoy the show for the few hours that we're going to do the show. And yeah, that's all I have. So I really appreciate you guys coming. I know y'all get here whenever y'all can get here and stay here for as long as y'all can stay here. And some days out of the week, y'all can't come. So when you do come, I'm glad to see you here. And when you can't come, I'll be missing you. So no diddy. Thank you for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you tomorrow night.